I think we did the rebirth on account of giving.
Yes, Bhante.
Okay, so let us begin by doing 3 bows to the Buddha. 1, 2, 3. Let me make sure I'm recording right. And then we'll do the salutation one time. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened one. Okay, so good morning, everybody. And now we are continuing in this chapter of the eights in the Anguttara Nikaya. We have this whole subchapter with a lot of texts related to the practice of giving and other kinds of meritorious deeds. And so we've been working rather slowly through these suttas, which give a lot of food for thought and discussion. And so now we come to sutta number 36. It's briefly called activity, but it's actually referring to punya kirya vatu, which is translated here as the basis of meritorious activity. And this introduces the important topic. We've touched on it sometimes in the past, but again, I'll just, at the risk of being repetitive, bring it up again. And this is the topic of what is translated into English as merit, and the Pali word is punya. Yeah, the idea of merit, somehow it maybe suggests the idea that there's like, remember when you were in school, in elementary school, when you behave well, you get merit points. You have a card. At least we used to have those back in Brooklyn in the 1950s, and with little spaces. And then the teacher has a block with golden stars. And if you're of good conduct, then she'll say, bring me your card. And then you get a golden star on your card, your merit card. So the English rendering of merit gives the impression that there's somebody who's giving you golden stars for your conduct. But that is not the sense of punya. So what is punya? Well, the word we render into English as merit. So punya, we can say, is wholesome karma. So it's identical with kusala karma. Considered from the perspective of its ability to yield desirable results. So the kusala karma, we could say, has 2 aspects, maybe, at least 2 aspects. One aspect of kusala karma, or maybe 3 aspects, we could say. One aspect of kusala karma is that of purifying the mind or purifying the character, developing a strong moral character, a character of ethical integrity. The second aspect of kusala karma is its ability to, say, pave the way, to pave the road to liberation. So to develop those wholesome factors like the bodhipakkhya dhammas that will result directly in liberation. But the kusala karma also has another aspect, which has that aspect of having the potential or power to bring desirable results. And those desirable results can be considered mundane and supramundane or world transcending. So the mundane results of merit would include things like a fortunate, desirable rebirth, having a long lifespan, good health, beautiful features, physical features, um, wealth and prosperity, and etc. You could fill out the rest. And then the supramundane or world transcending is that merit provides the, I call it the fuel, the rocket fuel for propelling the quest to break free from the bondage of the world and to attain liberation. And so, whatever mode one seeks liberation, whether as an Arahat disciple, Pacceka Buddha, or as a fully enlightened Sammasambuddha, each mode requires a vast accumulation of merits. So somebody, for example, like the great disciples, Sariputta, Moggallana, how do they get to be chief disciples? It's not just a matter of one lifetime meeting the Arhat Asaji, meeting the Buddha, hearing the Buddha preach, and then you get to be appointed chief disciple. It doesn't work like that, but you have to accumulate over many, many lifetimes vast resources of merits. And similarly, to become a person like Ananda, personal attendant of the Buddha, again, it's not just that he's born into the second clan, a cousin of the Buddha likes him and says, you be my attendant. But for many, many lifetimes, he's had to accumulate, again, vast resources of merit directed by that vow or aspiration to become the personal attendant of a Buddha. And then similarly, to become a Pacceka Buddha and to become a fully enlightened Sammasambuddha. In that case, for the Sammasambuddha, sort of the accumulations of merit are just so vast that they're beyond conceivability. And so for this reason, because of the importance of merit, so the Buddha's texts enumerate different kinds of actions that generate merit, that help to create merit. The oldest strata, the Sutta Vittaka, mentions three bases of meritorious activity, which we find here. So this is dana, sila, and bhavana, which we translate here as giving, the practice of sort of generosity in action, then virtuous behavior. This is behavior that aligns with the precepts, conduct governed by the ethical precepts. And then bhavana is the deliberate meditative cultivation of the mind. And probably as a base of meritorious activity, this is my sort of spin on this, what would be the kind of meditative practices that generate merit in the more specifically that are designed to generate merit would be things like the six recollections, recollection of the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, of sila, of morality, generosity, and the devas, and the Brahma Viharas, that is the development of boundless loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, and what is the fourth one?
Equanimity, upekha.
Equanimity.
Upekha. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, of course, any kind of meditative practice will be creating merit, but it seems that those 6 recollections and the 4 divine abodes sort of enrich and and uplift, enrich, and fertilize the mind with the power of sort of meritorious qualities. So this is the oldest stratum. And then the developed, at least in the Theravada tradition, the developed Theravada tradition expands the list of meritorious activities till I think in the sub-commentaries and the Abhidhamma commentaries, we have 10 bases of merit. So let's see if I didn't list them in advance. Let's see if I can remember them. So we have these 3. So these 3 are the foundations. If any of you familiar with that list, you might have to help me out. Okay, another one becomes reverence. This is apachaya. So this is, for example, like acts like bowing to the Buddha, bowing down to the Bodhi tree, to stupas, chaityas, to relics of the Buddha and great disciples. And showing reverence to the Sangha, to senior monastics. So all of those kinds of showing of reverence, veneration is a source of merit. And then another one is service. So this would be like doing active deeds which are beneficial to other people, to other beings, serving in any way that one can to help others, whether supporting the monasteries, helping monastics if they need a ride, give it to see a doctor, taking them on the ride, giving them a ride, or serving others, maybe in a homeless shelter, providing assistance to homeless people, serving in a food kitchen, yeah, providing food to hungry people, any kind of acts of service like that. So now we have 5. Now we have to get 5 more. Oh, yeah.
Sharing of merits.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, uh, let's test my own memory. When the memory runs out, then I'll ask for help. Okay, sharing merits with others. So that is when you do meritorious deeds, you don't just mentally keep them sort of locked up for yourself, within yourself, but you share them with others. And so you could do this either actively or externally, sort of invite others. I've done such and such. It's not to boast, but you say, I did such meritorious deeds. I invite you to rejoice in those deeds. And then your friends, relatives will then have the opportunity to rejoice in your meritorious deeds. And in some of the Buddhist countries, when people do meritorious deeds, like in the temple, they have a special gong. So you do the meritorious deed and then you strike the gong and then the gong reverberates throughout the village. And so when people hear that reverberation of the gong, they know that somebody, maybe they don't know who, but somebody has done a meritorious deed, and that gives them the chance to rejoice in the meritorious deeds. And that way you're sharing the merits, but you don't have to do it externally, but even just mentally in your mind, when you finish some meritorious deed, you make the aspiration, may all beings rejoice in my meritorious deeds. And we do this at the end of our class. We always do Akasa Taja Bhumata Deva Naga Mahidika. And so we share the merits with the devas, the nagas, and with other beings, asking them to rejoice in our merits and to share in the merits. And then the corresponding source of merit is rejoicing in the merits of others. And so when you know about others engaging in meritorious deeds, then you, instead of thinking, who does he think he is? He thinks he's better than everybody else. But instead, you rejoice. How wonderful, how marvelous that so-and-so has done such a good deed. And so when you rejoice in the merits of others, then you participate in the merits. So we have 6, 7, 8. Wait, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7.
There's Dhamma Savana and Dhamma Dasana.
I'm saying I'm not so old and feeble. The only thing is that I have to start a new box. Okay, so we have Dhamma Savana. So this is listening to the Dhamma, right? So you listen to the Dhamma, that is a source of merit. But also within Dhamma Savana, probably you could include Dhamma Sakacca, discussing the Dhamma. Because then we have, keep on losing, okay. Dhamma Desana, which means teaching the Dhamma. So when you teach the Dhamma to others, that becomes a source of merit. And then the 10th one is Diti Ujukata, I think. So the meaning is straightening out one's views. So this is probably as a result of both study, reflection, and meditation. You try to develop right view or right understanding of the Dhamma. So that becomes the 10 bases of merit in the unfolding or developed Theravada tradition. But in the sutta level of teaching, we just have these 3. And then what's done in the commentaries is to incorporate or align these additional sources of merit with the 3 basic ones. So reverence, where would reverence come among the 3 fundamental sources of merit?
Sila. Sila.
Okay, so sila, it could be a form of sila, but when you're showing reverence, something else is happening.
Generosity.
No.
Bhante, isn't it like Shraddha?
No, Shraddha, it's a faculty, but it's not listed as a source of merit. So we're trying to align reverence with the 3 giving, virtuous behavior, meditative development.
I would say it's a form of giving.
No.
Bhante, is it a form of meditative development, respecting somebody?
Say again?
Is it a form of meditative development? If
Right,
we were
yeah. Okay. So she said it because in a way, even if you're just bowing down in a few seconds, but you're doing it with sati sampajanya, not just as an empty ritual. When you're doing it with mindfulness and clear comprehension, then it becomes a form of meditative development. Okay, so service, helping others, serving others, you're giving the monks a ride, maybe to the hospital
Form
or
of
help.
dana, Bhante.
Right, it's a form of giving. Then sharing merits with others.
It's also a dana, Bhante.
again dana,
Yeah, it's a kind of giving, rejoicing in the merits of others.
loving
It's a virtue.
kindness,
It's a sila.
Where
It's a sila, Bhante. It sounds like a sila.
it does have sila aspects, but I would say
I
more
think it's
directly.
bhavana, it's
mudita,
mudita.
Yeah, it's a form of
Rejoicing.
mudita. So in a way, you're developing one of the Brahma Viharas.
loving
And Dhamma
kindness,
Savana, Dhamma Desana together,
bhavana,
right? Though also Dhamma Desana could also be considered what
giving,
else?
Dana.
dana,
Dana.
Dana. It's Dhamma Dana, right? You're
Yes.
giving the gift of the Dhamma. So it's both kind of giving and a kind of meditative development. Of course, when you have to give a Dhamma talk, you have to study the material. You know, you're not sitting there, necessarily sitting there with your legs crossed and your eyes closed, but you have to study the material, discern patterns, make up notes, make up outline. And
Learning
so you're
technology.
developing your wisdom. So it's a kind of meditative development. And straightening out one's views, also we could put under meditative development.
How
You agree?
about Sila too?
Yeah,
For
I was
love?
thinking it's sila too.
Which one?
Sila, straightening out
Bhikkhu
one's
Bodhi.
views.
Straightening out one's views. I would say mainly meditative development. But
Okay, Bhante.
anyway, there's not necessarily sort of sharp dividing lines between each of these. Sometimes there's some overlap. Okay, so now let's see what happens. So we have the three bases for meritorious activities. Okay, so now the text is going to be discussing, in a way, this is dealing with rebirth as a result of these meritorious actions. The earliest sutta that we did last week dealt with rebirth on account of only the first giving, but now we have all three as a basis for rebirth. And of course, this topic of rebirth is quite important for all schools of classical Buddhism. Nowadays, we have what they call secular Buddhism, which sort of dismisses the idea of rebirth and even of karma, or reinterprets in a purely, we call, way that applies only to this life. But if we look at the Buddha's teachings, again and again, the Buddha speaks about the law of cause and effect, karma, and the results extending over multiple lifetimes. Okay, so here we have somebody who's practiced the merits of giving to a limited extent, And we don't really get an explanation of what's meant by a limited extent. The commentary just gives a synonym for limited. He's practiced the basis of merit for virtuous behavior, observes the sila to a limited extent, but he has not undertaken the basis of meritorious activity consisting in meditative development. And so with the breakup of the body after death, he or she is reborn among humans in an unfavorable condition. Let's see what this note says. So it just says that one is born into, it's called a Nicha Kula, a low family devoid of excellence. Sometimes I have to say, my personal opinion, sometimes people who are born in poverty with a lot of challenges in life sometimes come out stronger with greater spiritual capacities, moral capacities than those who are born into the lap of luxury. So I don't know how these things work. Sometimes these kind of assignments of modes of rebirth in accordance with degrees of merit seem a little bit too mechanical. Okay, so here we have somebody who's performed, acquired the merits of giving to a middle extent, sila to a middling extent, but not developed the meritorious, had not undertaken the basis of meritorious activity in meditative development. With the breakup of the body after death, he's reborn among humans in a favorable condition. Yeah, but sometimes being reborn in a favorable condition, if you're reborn in the lap of luxury, have no struggles, no difficulty, no challenges in life, that could lead to a kind of moral deterioration. I have to say, these people, these multimillionaires and billionaires, they have everything at their disposal, but ethically, character is completely despicable. Okay, then we have somebody who is somebody has practiced these three bases to a superior, well, the first two, giving and virtuous behavior to a superior extent, but still hasn't undertaken the meritorious activity of meditative development. Boy, that person needs a real push, maybe a whack on the head. Get meditating, man. Okay. Okay, and then with the breakup of the body after death, he's reborn in companionship with the Devas, ruled by the four great kings. Yeah, I had this note last week. We could look at it again. I don't know why the note always reverts to 9 point, which is just too small for my eyes. Okay, so who are the four great kings? So they act as guardians of the world. And then they have the following Pali names. There's Datarata, who rules the east, and he presides over the Gandharvas, the celestial musicians. The Rulaka rules the south, and he rules over the Kumbhandas. The Rupaka is the presiding deity of the west, rules over the Nagas, the dragon spirits, and Vaisavana, ruler of the north, presides over the Yakshas, the nature spirits. So this is the lowest of the 6 sense sphere or desire realm heavenly worlds. And so there are the 4 kings. They are the ones who get reborn in that position through their superior merits. And it's a changing position, a little bit like, at least for now, like being the president of the United States. So the position remains the same, but you have a different person coming into that position every 4 years or every 8 years. And so you have the stable position, ruler of the East, ruler of the West, ruler of the South, ruler of the North, but different people will come up and get reborn into that position and become the ruler over that particular division in the heaven of the 4 great kings. And so those 4 great kings surpass the other devas in that realm in 10 respects. So first are 5 desirable qualities. The lifespan, they have a longer lifespan than the other devas in their realm. Celestial beauty, much more beautiful than the other devas. Celestial happiness, they experience greater bliss, joy, happiness. Celestial glory, I don't know what that means. Yasa, maybe fame. And then celestial authority. Well, they're the ruler, so they have the power. And then they have the 5, they have access to superior 5 objects of sensual pleasure: forms, sounds, odors, tastes, and tactile objects. So those are the 4 great kings. Okay, then we go up. We'll try to go through this quickly. So next, we come to the next level of one who's, we could presume, has practiced the first 2 bases of merit to an even more superior extent than the previous one. But still, what are you doing, man? You're not... still hasn't started to take up meditative development. Come to Zhuangyan Monastery Saturday morning. Come to the library and sit down there. You'll get some basic instruction, or come online Wednesday evening. You can get some meditation instruction in mindfulness and loving kindness meditation. Even just 40 minutes. Don't lose that opportunity. Don't just remain complacent because you're practicing giving and observing precepts. But still, with these 2 bases of meritorious activity, you get reborn in companionship with the Tavatimsa Devas. The Tavatimsa means 33, because there are 33, according to the traditional account, there were 33 young men who did meritorious deeds under the leadership of one of the group in a long time ago in the past, and they got reborn into this heavenly world. And the leader of the group became Shaka, ruler of the Devas. and the other 32 with sort of his cabinet, we could say, or the members of his inner council. And then many other beings get reborn in the Tavattingsadeva world. And so Saka, because his merits are superior, so he surpasses the other devas of this world in the same 10 respects. Okay, we're moving on now. So now we come to the next deva world, and this is the Yama devas, and the ruler of that realm is called Suyama. Then we're moving up quickly. We come to the next. I guess as you're doing more and more superior merits, then you get reborn in a higher heavenly realm. And so this is the Tusita Devas. And my opinion is that this is probably the more desirable Deva realm to seek rebirth. Because the way it's depicted in the text, in the Tavattingsadeva world, the beings pretty much indulge in celestial sensual pleasures, singing, dancing, enjoying delicious celestial food, listening to celestial music, and so on. But in the Tusita Deva world, this is supposed to be the realm in which the Bodhisattva, who's going to become the next Buddha, presides over a section of the Tusita Deva world. And so that Bodhisattva teaches the Dharma in the Tusita Deva world. And so the Tusita Devas get to hear the Dharma from that Bodhisattva. So now it's the common belief that Maitreya or Maitreya dwells in the Tusita Deva world. He's not called the ruler of the Tusita Deva world. That is said to be the young Deva Santusita, unless maybe Santusita is Maitreya. So when Maitreya becomes a Buddha, then he'll be known as Maitreya. But maybe in the Tusita Deva world, he's called Santusita. Okay, then we have two other Deva worlds. We have the Devas who delight in creation and the Devas who control what is created by others. Again, rebirth there is determined by superior practice of giving and sila, observance of precepts. But it's said that even rebirth in the Devas who control what is created by others, that they have not undertaken the practice of meditative development. I just don't see how that's possible, but this is what the sutta says. Okay, I think you get the picture. And so now we could see whether we have any questions. Okay, Gita.
Yes, Bhante, thank you for sharing the Dhamma, many merits. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Bhante, I have two questions. One is, how do you deal with someone who doesn't want your merits when you try to share with them or their pushback? So can you just share the merits in our minds with those people that you care about or you love, and then you don't want them to suffer in any way? You mean your intentions are 100% pure. So that was one question. Second thing
Oh, wait,
is,
let's take one each question. Okay, if the person, you've tried to offer your merits to the other person, but they don't say sadhu or thank you
yes,
or I
yeah.
rejoice or anumodami,
Mhm.
and they just say, I don't want your merits, then they're not going to get the merits.
Well, that's very sad, Bhante.
Yeah, you could extend maybe, because if they say I don't want your merit, it means that they have a narrow and mean and spiteful kind of mind. So you could direct compassion to them or even loving kindness to them and just wish them the best. And
We'd be
maybe through
happy
the
to share our
power of
merits.
maybe through
Yes,
the power of
Bhante.
your thought, it might affect them at a subliminal level. We don't know.
Yes, Bhante. Okay, and the second question was so that means if you do meditation, Bhante, and you have a concentrated mind, is is the possibility greater to go to the pure abodes?
To go to the pure abode,
Yes, Bhante.
this is the Suddhavasa mentioned in the early Buddhist texts. It's
Mhm.
not enough just to do meditative development. The pure abodes are only accessible to
To non-returners.
anagamis, to non-returners. Yeah, so you have to
So
reach the path and fruit of the non-returner.
in Bhante, in order to reach that path, then does that mean we can penetrate through vipassana, penetration of the Dhamma
Yeah, you
and
have to
realization?
develop, yeah, you have to practice
Vipassana
probably both samatha and
and
vipassana,
vipassana. Thank you,
everything.
Bhante.
Because the
Thank you.
pure abodes are aligned with the fourth jhana level.
Yes,
So it
Bhante.
might take the mastery over the four jhanas and vipassana. I think it's possible through vipassana, what's called dry insight, to become a
Right.
non-returner. Then you'll be reborn in the rupa realm, but maybe not necessarily in the pure abodes.
Oh, that would be really good. Thank you, Bhante. Thanks for sharing that. Many merits.
Okay, but I'm
Sadhu.
not completely certain. Okay, next will be satya. Satya, yeah.
Hello, Bhante. Thank you for your teaching. You said the Bodhisattva teaches in the Tusita heaven, but I thought the Buddha only appears when the Dhamma is completely lost in the world. So does that refer to just the human realm? Is it just lost in the human realm? Could it be remembered in other realms?
Wait, say that again. I'm not quite sure that I caught the sense of the question.
Oh, um, when a Buddha arises in the world, the Dhamma is lost in the world. But before that, before he arises, but is it lost in other realms as well, or could there be beings that remember the Dhamma in other realms?
I think so. I think so. Yeah. So the Buddha will appear in the human realm. For a Buddha to appear in the human realm, the Dhamma has to have completely disappeared in the human realm. But it seems possible. I mean, I'm not an expert in this, that there can be the Dhamma in the heavenly realms, because it said, this is in the sort of the account, maybe the legendary account of the life of the Buddha, that Brahmas from the pure abodes came down to incite the Buddha, or at this point he's still the Bodhisattva, to renounce the household life and take to the path of renunciation. And so they would have known the Dhamma and the significance of a Buddha in order to induce the Bodhisattva to renounce and seek the path to Buddhahood. Yes, I hope does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
But again, these are things that lie outside my domain of personal direct experience. Wait, I have my cell phone. I'll put a call through to my tray. See what's going on up there. Okay, Rina.
Yes, thank you, Bhante. So, a lot of us people put a huge amount of effort and into.
I'm not
Um,
catching the sound.
okay, how's it
Uh,
now? Is
Let
it
me
any better?
increase the volume here. Okay.
Uh,
Okay, try again.
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people put huge amount of effort into their work, family,
Yeah.
worrying about it, and retirement, etc. So, what kind of activity is that, and how should one prioritize? If it's not the same as meritorious activity, then how should one?
If it's not the same as,
Is not the same as meritorious activity, punya kamma.
well,
Then how should?
there's always opportunities for meritorious activity. One can't say that one's work and family responsibilities pull one away from meritorious activities. One should always have the opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, no, that is fine. But is that what kind of activity is that? Is that kushal kamma or is that not counted
Excuse
under?
me?
Is that a punya kamma or
You
is
mean
it not?
looking after the family?
Or let's say earning an income, trying to do well in your career, um, which is often combined with also taking care of your family.
Yeah, maybe just pursuing one's career in itself is not inherently a meritorious activity. It depends very much on the attitude with which one does it. In a way, almost that is a kind of meditative development, even if you're not sitting in formal meditation. But if you're pursuing a career, let's say, because you have to earn in order to support your family, so the wish to support your family is a kind of meritorious activity, I would say. And then when you earn money through your work, then you can make the determination that I'm going to use certain percentage of my earnings to do works of charity, to devote to charitable purposes, and then it becomes a meritorious activity.
And how should one balance pursuing income and um, for one's living versus giving and other the actual things that you mentioned here?
Yeah, there was some device that we had here where I could put directly into my ear so I could get the sound more clearly.
Yes,
Say again, just say
yeah.
it
So
again.
how should one? I mean, given that people put a huge amount of effort and worry into one's own income, livelihood, lifestyle, retirement, how should one balance that with the types of giving and meditative, all these things that you mentioned here?
Yeah. Actually, there's an interesting sutta in which the Buddha discusses sort of the way to divide up the way one uses one's income, the different purposes. Maybe it doesn't apply, 100% in relation to contemporary lifestyles and ways of dividing up one's wealth. But you could look at the suttas in the Anguttara Nikaya, Book of Fours. Let me see if I can get the number. It might be number 61 or 62. He mentions that you use a certain amount to support your family, your household. Again, you use a certain amount to put aside in case of emergencies. This would be like investments in insurance. A certain amount you dedicate to devote to expanding your business, your workplace, and then another amount, another portion you devote to different types of small charitable acts, and then another portion you devote to supporting samanas and brahmanas who have renounced the worldly life in order to seek the path to liberation. Yeah, so you could look at that sutta for more information.
Yeah, but
I'm pretty sure.
it's also the amount of effort, right? I mean, we just put a lot of
Yeah,
not just about the money, but also we put a lot of amount of attention and effort and focus and
Yeah,
worry
this
into
you
it.
have to figure out for yourself. There's no formula that works for everybody. Yeah, I
Okay.
think we have to move on because there's some other people have questions. Okay, so Sumana,
Thank you, Bante. Bante, the Paranimitta Vasavati Deva
yeah,
heaven. I just wonder why Mara is there and why is it why is he higher than
why is
um
he what?
the why 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 is he live in that heaven realm, Bante, and it's higher than the Maitreya?
Why does Mara live in that heaven?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
Maybe
like
the
you practice and then you go to heaven and meet
what is
Mara
that?
is there. It's like you practice and do all this and then you go
Yeah,
to heaven, rebirth in heaven, and you
maybe
meet Mara there.
yeah, maybe I think that's said in the commentaries, maybe not in the suttas. I don't think it's said in the suttas. I think that comes in the commentary that Mara resides in the division of the Parinimita Vasavati heaven. It said like a rebellious prince in a kingdom sort of goes to a frontier province and sort of rules over that frontier province, rebelling against the king. So Mara resides in a kind of frontier province of the Parinimita Vasavati heaven. So why was he assigned to that heaven? I think the idea here is that Mara is sort of has dominion over the entire, all the beings in the desire realm. And so he has to be assigned to the highest heaven of the desire realm. That's my supposition, but I'm not completely sure.
Thank you, Bante.
Okay. Yeah, but I don't know any portion, any sutta passage which assigns Mara to a particular realm. Probably the commentators had to find a place for him, and they decided that's the most suitable place. How about in the Chinese tradition? Where is Mara? You don't know? Okay, anyway, we have another question. We'll go on. Chia?
Thank you, Bante, for teaching. I have a question regarding to rebirth to Sita heaven.
Yeah.
I think there is a way to do that by collecting enough merit and then recite the Maitreya's name to get there. Is that right?
I think this is a practice that sort of comes down in later Buddhist traditions. So, but there is an important sutta actually relevant to this, which is in the Majjhima Nikaya, it's sutta number 120. I think it's 120. It's called Rebirth in Accordance with One's Aspiration.
Mm.
And so the case here is that what you do is you have to develop, of course, the sufficient amount of merit. And then what you do is you form the aspiration to be reborn in a particular realm. And then if your merits are sufficient to generate rebirth into that realm, then your aspiration, your resolution will be fulfilled. But of course, if somebody doesn't generate a lot of merits, they cheat, steal, lie, maybe commit adultery, and then they form the aspiration, I want to be reborn in the Tusita heaven, I want to be reborn in the Tusita heaven. It ain't going to work out.
Is it important that the aspiration formed is that I'm just wondering about timing, need to be formed prior to, long prior to death, or you can be formed at the last minute,
I think it's,
at the Bardo period.
let us say it's like a student in college has a history exam coming up. Maybe in 2 weeks, there's going to be the final history exam. Should he start studying 2 weeks in advance, or should he wait until the night before the exam and then do an all-nighter, cramming the whole semester's work into one night of study? What do you think?
And that's obvious. Thank you, Bante. I actually reading that in the Tusita heaven, there's inner court and outer court. And the outer court is still like very hard to learn about Dharma, but inner court has a lot of courses you can take. So I'm just wondering if there any merit we need to get to inner court
A lot of
possibility.
courses you could take. You mean like in the inner court, there's course in like early Buddhism, course in Abhidharma, Theravada Abhidharma, Savastivada Abhidharma, Madhyamaka philosophy, Yogacara philosophy.
And the last question, Bante.
Wait. Yeah. So this distinction, inner court and outer court, I haven't seen it certainly not in the suttas. I don't know about the Pali commentaries. I've heard about it in connection with Chinese Buddhism. So it might develop in Chinese Mahayana Buddhism.
Yeah.
I see Venerable Changre is nodding his head like this. Yeah, so I don't know what the source is. Yeah, and
Last quick question is, so the merit you're talking about has to be really vast to get there. Um, I'm just wondering, cultivating 5 precepts versus Bodhisattva precept. You think Bodhisattva precept probably gets enough merits there? I'm just okay. Enough question. Thank you.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not an expert on this area, but all that is we know is that the practice of dana and sila, if it's developed with sufficient purity and strength, can be a condition for rebirth in the Tusita Deva world. Okay, we'll
Thank you,
take.
Bhante.
Okay, you see 2 more questions, then we'll have to stop. So one is John Mish.
Hi, Bhante. Thank you, Bhante, for the teachings. I was wondering if it's possible to aspire for a favorable human birth in the next lifetime.
Is it possible to aspire for a favorable human birth?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the principle is the same. Again, you have to do meritorious deeds and then form that particular aspiration to come back into the human realm under desirable conditions. In fact, many like monks that I've known we don't want a heavenly rebirth, but we aspire, may I come back into the human realm and quickly connect with the Buddha's teaching and have the opportunity to encounter good sort of monastic teachers, and then have the opportunity to go forth into the monastic life and to make good progress in cultivating the Dhamma,
Thank you, Bhante.
rather than aiming for a heaven. But maybe sometimes it's good to get a heavenly rebirth just to recharge one's batteries, because conditions in the human realm are very tough, very difficult, and rather sad to say, conditions are going to be so terrible in the future in the human realm as the climate change accelerates and the climate disasters start to really bombard us one after another. What we've seen so far is just I'm not being a dark prophet here. This is what all of the experts are saying. What we've seen so far is just a slight foretaste of what lies ahead as the rise in ocean levels increases in humidity in the atmosphere, and so forth. The impacts will be really severe. Okay, so there was one hand, I saw it, now it's gone. Okay, so I think we'll have to end for the day. Wow, I thought that I would get through to the end of this chapter. We just spent the whole class on one sutta. And what do you think about the heaven of the four great kings, by the way? Does it sound, sometimes it seems to me like ancient Indian popular beliefs have been sort of incorporated into this idea. Naga Dupati? Dupati?
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, Bhante, I was driving. I had to take my hand out. Thank you for the class. I was just feeling like if we think that we have to give merits to other people, doesn't that mean that we have the ego of that we have the merits, we did good, and we have to help others? Does it become it's our own fabrications of mind?
No, it doesn't have to be egotistical at all. It just can be done through loving kindness and compassion.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify.
Just like if a wealthy a person with, don't have to be wealthy, but with sufficient means, you make a donation to a charitable organization, to CARE, to Oxfam International, Direct Relief International. It doesn't mean that you're full of ego, but out of compassion, you want to help others.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Thank
Okay, so
you.
now we'll have to end the session, and we end by doing the sharing of the merits. Yeah, so now we'll be doing a meritorious deed of sharing the merits. So we share the merit with the Dharma protecting devas, the nagas, and with all other beings, asking them to protect the sasana, to protect the teaching, and to protect ourselves and others. Akasata chabumata deva naga mahidika punyantam anumoditva chirangra kantu sasanam. Akasata chabumata deva naga mahidika punyantam anumoditva chirangra kantu desanam. Akasata chabumata deva naga mahidika Panyanta manumoditva chirangra kantu mang parang dukkha pata chani dukkha baya pata chani baya soka pata chani soka antu sabepi panino. May those in suffering be free from suffering. May those in fear be free from fear. May those in sorrow be free from sorrow. May all living beings also be thus, free from suffering, free from fear, free from sorrow. Okay, and then we can end by doing 3 bows to the Buddha. Okay, so in the room we could stand up. Oh, again, I forget to ask whether people in the hall have questions. I'm so sorry. Wow. Does anybody have questions? Okay. Um, okay, so we do 3 bows. 2, 3.
And
And
a
let's
bow to Bhante Bodhi, our great teacher. Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu,
Thank you,
sadhu,
Okay,
Bhante.
so
sadhu,
thank
Thank
you,
you,
everybody.
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Thank you.
Many merits,
Thank
Bhante.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Bhante.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Great
Thank you.
lunch.
Thank you,
See you on
Bhante.
Wednesday, Bhante.
The best,
Everyone
Bhante.
Thank you,
sadhai.
Bhante.
Namo
Thank you very
Buddhaya.
much, Bhante.
Sadhu,
Thank you,
sadhu,
Bhante.
sadhu.
Sadhu,
Hope
See
you've
you on
Sadhu.
enjoyed the
Wednesday, Bhante.
class.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
What do we
Thank you
end
so
Thank
on
much.
you,
the end of
Bhante.
recording?
See
Okay.
you, Bhante.
How do I end the recording? Okay.
Thank you very much.